So it's my first video on your infinity as an alien. Of course it is. This is just how I am. So what's up? I am Gen Z Tarot, or Gen Z. It's totally fine. But I prefer. But I am a intuitive tarot reader, so I use these tarot cards as a starting off point for a larger conversation. And here we are. So I feel like it's time to start having that conversation. Here we are, let's have it. So I've already shuffled, but I still like to get my cards out in this manner. And I'm just going to go ahead and go with the overall message of what's kind of coming. I like to give quick card spreads because I feel like it just really, it helps me get a clear message. And because there's just so much deep underlying things when it comes to tarot. So I usually deal with what is going on internally with yourself. And I read so you can have a better understanding of ourselves. Or also so we can connect to our higher self and move in the best way forward. Okay. Now I want to finish off the shuffle. Okay. So this is just a basic reading. This is not for anybody or anyone in particular. This is just for energy. So we'll call it a Halloween reading because that's the reason why I'm an alien, right? Halloween. Also because I've always wanted to be an alien. So, here it is. We have the Two of Wands, the Ten of Swords, the Chariot in the reverse. Oh, the Ten of Swords is also in the reverse. We have the Seven of Wands in the reverse, the Seven of Swords in the upright, and the Hierophant. Here it is. The Two of Wands, for me, always feels like a deeper longing, almost a dissatisfaction of where we're at. And we're not in a bad spot to begin with. We're in a spot that we actually really hoped and wished for. And the second that we got there, we wanted something else. Now, the way that I'm really picking this up is that we really got what we got what we wished for, but we wished for it in a different way. We wished for it in a different manner. It wasn't everything that it was all chalked up to be. For some people, it's particularly a job that once we got it, it was a good paying job, or the job that we always thought we wanted. And once we got into it, we realized that we wanted something a little bit more simpler, something that's a little bit more, not as refined as what we thought originally. And with the Ten of Swords, what I'm really picking up is like, if somebody told you, especially in particularly, that you were not going to be happy, you were not going to be fully satisfied. Here there is deep realization and thoughts that, and I also feel like you hoped and wished for this so much that you feel like you have to be there. You feel like you have to stay in this type of position. Now this doesn't necessarily have to mean a job. It also could be a certain type of relationship. Like the social media relationship that you always saw, and once you got it, you realize that that's not something that you want. You realize that you actually might want to be single, and you realize that you actually wanted a much more simpler, private love. But I'm really feeling like you actually want to be single. Even with the Ten of Swords that's here that's coming up, it's like you listen to everybody else but yourself for this whole situation. And the whole reason why, because of this, is probably because of past relationships that are coming up. There was a particular past relationship you felt like you were taken advantage of, you felt like your love was taken advantage of, and you really felt like you put in all this work, so you actually went into a relationship that is not as passionate as this past one was, because you felt like that was what you needed. And once you got in there, this is what I'm really picking up with someone in particular that's jumping from relationship to relationship to find what makes them happy, what makes them whole. In actuality, you make yourself whole and you make yourself happy. We have a Chariot here in the reverse because there is not a lot of forward movement. There's actually a love, I feel like a love interest or a career that is, or there's travel, and there's like a whole life that wants to be built elsewhere, and you're not letting yourself build that life. And the reason why is because you have a lot of attachment here to wherever your current location is. And that could really mean that you have a lot of family there, you just did a lot of personal growth there, and you're not ready to go ahead and move like forward and change that. Anytime I see the Chariot, I always think of difficult decisions that come up, and really huge, um, like not difficult decisions, but they're necessarily like big, huge changes that are going to come through. Now you can go ahead and you're hesitant to move this way. You're hesitant to go ahead and find what makes the most sense to you, and you're hesitant to go ahead and fully choose what makes you happy. So here, there is one decision that is always so much more simpler, so much more easy. There's not a lot of hurt involved. And then there's just one that's really difficult and that's really scary. It all does have to pertain to a job or to moving. There is also here long distance relationships and long distance friendships that are not, they're not getting the full um, appreciation because it is so long distance. And it's almost as like you feel like this is not real because of how long distance it is. You have the Seven of Wands here, so, and the Seven of Swords. So what you are feeling internally, which is you keep, and then there's also somebody here that is staying in a relationship that could be, I don't want to say, it's a little bit abusive. It could be abusive. It's not necessarily physically, but there's a lot of abuse that's like emotional and verbal abuse that is going on, and you're keeping yourself in this relationship um, for that particular reason, actually. Because there's a huge tendency, you actually want someone to tell you to leave, and if you're waiting for it, that's me to tell you to leave, and you can go ahead and move forward and away from it. But there's deeper reasons why you want to stay in this type of relationship with a person. It could be a friendship as well, but it's just something that has a lot of passion involved, but not a lot of love involved, and not a lot of deep, true, like, feel good, take care of love. So with the Seven of Wands, I really feel like there's a hesitancy to look within, because once you look within, you realize that this is not something that you really want, and you realize that you've been avoiding other areas of your life with this relationship, and letting this relationship, this work situation, overburden you. Seven of Wands to me is fighting your burdens with other burdens, so you're picking up other things, um, and that's a lot where your discontentment comes from. Where you're unhappy at work is because you're unhappy on the inside. You're unhappy internally to look into your relationship. When you have the Seven of Swords to me is always that person that knows how to say everything to get what they want out of you. They know how to say all the right words. They know how to do, and it's not a lot of action. It's a lot of promises that are coming up. And with the Seven of Wands, there is no action behind the words at all. There's some, and their actions are actually very quite opposite of what their words say. So here with the Seven of Swords, it's really someone that is telling you all the sweet stuff, telling you all the good things, honestly, to go ahead and get whatever they want. If that's money, if that's love, because this person tends to feel really small sometimes. Um, there is, yeah, there's a lot of that type of like feeling going on. There's the other thing that I'm picking up is that there tends to be a lot of sex that is used to go ahead and build up this other person. You don't want to go ahead and indulge in that, but you do because you're not quite sure on how to go ahead and fix this other person. You have the Hierophant here because that's my introduction to your guide. I'm a Taurus. And the other thing that is coming up is this change, this movement that you're avoiding needs to happen, and you're dying for someone to go ahead and tell you to move. You're dying for someone to go ahead and tell you to leave a situation. And there's so much hesitancy there because you need verbal confirmation as if that's what you need to do. The other message that I'm really getting with the Two of Wands is that you are so, like, looking out in the beyond of how you can get out in the beyond and how you can get what you want to get without actually looking at to where you are. There is tips, there's a clue, and there's actually an exit point right there in front of you that you are completely avoiding because you have to move down to go away. And you are here right now, you're at a point, like I said, everybody's going to be telling you, why do you feel so you're not happy? Why do you feel so unhappy? Why do you feel unfulfilled? You have everything and more. This relationship is beautiful, it looks a certain way on the outside. But you have to realize that you have to bring yourself down. You have to leave the situation. And what I mean by that is you actually just have to, you have to get off your high horse. The thing that you built, this idea that you built, the feeling that you have when you're with this particular person or this particular job, because you're in that particular job, it makes you feel a type of way, but that does not serve you and that actually makes you feel worse in the long run. So you need to go ahead and bring yourself down from that. You need to, like, there's a lot of things that, like, you feel like that's below you, something's below you, and but you want that thing that is not below you, but you have to bring yourself down to go ahead and receive exactly what you want. You're longing for peace and you're longing for simplicity, but you think that that means like being poor, or you think that that means being not having material things. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that. But let me tell you, these material things aren't satisfying you anymore. But it's probably because you've always been in this mode, right, of living. Um, so yeah, so just go ahead and don't equate those things. Don't equate a simple life to being um, a poor life or something like that. Find exactly what you want. You need to bring yourself down a little bit. The overall message with this is to just go ahead and if you need counsel, seek counsel. If you need to seek someone that is um, a very male figure type that you listen to with your dad, some of uncle, grandpa, a really good friend, and like a really strong force. If you need to go ahead and listen to them, you need someone to um, tell you something. You have to go ahead and ask. You can't assume that they're going to come up and tell you all these wonderful things or all the things that you want to hear. The other thing also is you can just already go ahead and tell yourself the things that you need to hear, and you don't need anybody else to go ahead and clarify that. That's kind of the overall message that I'm picking up here. And yeah, I hope this message serves whoever it needs to serve, and I hope you guys have a great day. I am Gen Z on Instagram, and that's where you can go ahead and book private readings with me. Yeah, I hope you have a good one. All right, bye.